Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Healing Art After Hours. I'm Shauna Robeson with Creating Space Coastal, and in this video, I will be demonstrating how to do a neurographic inspired art that's related to the journal prompt, What's on Your Mind? So it's going to be a theme of the train of thought, where our mind goes when we're trying to be mindful. And this is just so far what I've done. And I'll be showing the finished project. I haven't done this side. I just finished playing around with this side, but at the end of this video, I will show the finished project. I'll be working on it a little bit longer. And but you can see the sped up version of this video here. So let's get started. So for tonight, I'm going to be continuing to use this mixed media, the Canson Mixed Media Journal. And this was the page from last week. And what I'm going to do is a spread on 2 pages. The one thing I will say about the spiral bound is when you're doing a spread, it's a little bit, it's not as cohesive as having a regular binding, the sewn binding, because the pages, of course, are separate. But I'm going to make do. And you can see that because this was alcohol markers, it really bled through this. But that's okay, because I'm going to be starting with collage. So I'm going to just go over all the supplies that I'm going to be probably using. I mean, I may grab extra things out of my master mixed media list. But when I do the background of this, the theme for tonight is What's on Your Mind? And we're going to be talking about the thoughts that come up into our mind that are not always invited. More often than not, they're not. So I wanted to do like a train, kind of I'm going to call it a brain station instead of a train station. So it's going to be, I'm going to have a centralized sort of brain station, and then I'm going to do my neural lines out from there, radiating out from there, like leading to different cities where the train of thoughts might go. So I'm going to do a collage layer first. So I gathered some of my favorite collage layers, book pages. This is actually German. I don't know what it says. Hopefully it's something nice. This is from an old dictionary, and I did choose the page that has mind on it. So I try always to find, mind. And of course, this is like from the 40s. So it has the intellectual or rational faculty in man, consciousness, intelligence, state of feeling, the understanding or intellect, soul, memory, intention, opinion, to attend to be cognizant of, have change of, remember, to pay attention, watch, recollect, to be obedient. And then mindful, which is the practice that we're going to be working on tonight, is bearing in mind, observant, or attentive. So, anyway, that's one of the pieces that I want in there. This is just, I basically skinned a cardboard box. So this is just the part that was on top of the corrugation. I thought that was kind of cool paper. This was some of that paper I made with the coffee when I put the noodles and the salt on there. So some altered paper. And then I like using, this is just an old map. So, and I'm trying to keep it these neutral colors. So I was trying to find things, because I want it to almost look like an old timey train, like out in the desert or something. And then I found some pictures of trains in in magazines. So I just found things that were related to trains. This I thought looked a little like a train station, like an old-timey train station. Now I don't know that I'll use everything, but I just gathered things that were related to what I was looking for. There was also a little train here that I thought could be useful. Again, this looks like kind of like an old-timey building that could be a train station. And then this is the more modern train. but I kind of like the older trains better. Here's another older train. So I was able to find some things related to my topic, and I just gathered them just so I have them on hand. And then I looked through my stamp collections. I didn't have anything related to trains, except this is actually a stub for like an old train stub. So I thought that was cool. And then there's enjoy your journey and admit one, so like a little ticket. So I thought that could be a possibility. And then one of the things that's on my mind often is art. So I grabbed this one because that'll probably be one of the thoughts that pops into my head as I'm, doing that. And then I thought, these were kind of cool because I think of trains and the steampunk. Now, what I do, this is actually die cuts for those of you who aren't familiar. And these are the thin ones, and you basically can run them through a manual machine and they'll cut paper. And what I do is when I use it, I go ahead and make extras and I stick them in my little envelope. And this one, for example, I did some heat embossing and made it metallic. So now I already have some that are cut out. I could use these. But I also wanted to show you how you could use these like stencils. You could use them like stencils or stamps too. So I might use them like that as well. So I just grabbed everything in my stash that I could find that was related to the train theme. And I just have it handy just in case it is going to work into my piece. I don't really have any plan other than that. I just have the theme. And then I'm going to let my intuition guide me. And then as far as my pigments go, I did grab a couple stamps. Now this is a permanent, so it's waterproof. And this is important because I want to do maybe some water based work on top of it with some water-based pencils. So I don't want it to bleed. And then this one is not waterproof, it's dye-based. So this is not waterproof, but this is more something I might use around the edges, and I'm not going to get it too wet. So I'm not going to worry about that. But I thought it looks like a heritage, so it's kind of like an old photo, and I want this to have an old-timey feel. So I just gathered those, and then I thought I would use my ink tints. They're the Derwent ink tints, and these ones are not the watercolor ones, but they are water-based, and meaning that they are activated by water. And then the idea is that once these are activated fully, I want to say fully because if there's part of what you draw that's not activated, this may not, work out. But once it's been fully activated and wet, it's supposed to dry permanent, meaning it won't activate again if you add water. So, but if there's some of the pigment that's not activated in the first place, and then you add water, it'll activate because it hasn't been processed, if that makes sense. But anyway, I grabbed a couple colors of that. It's just neutrals. And then I have some Sharpies, my Micron. This is a permanent marker as well. So permanent markers. And my water brushes to activate some of the pencils, and that's what I've gathered so far. And then of course I needed to apply the collage materials. I decided to use a glue stick this time just because I want to keep the surface real dry. I'm not going to be doing acrylics or anything real wet on top of it, so I didn't feel the need to do any kind of gesso or sealing the page. I just thought I would use the glue stick and then keep it fairly dry. And this is a permanent bond. Let's see, I don't know if you can read that, but it does say permanent bond, and it's extra strength. So it's a little bit more durable. But if you're not doing a lot of wet work on top of it, you could probably even use just the basic dollar store glue sticks as well. The key to using the glue sticks is make sure that you get the glue along the edges of your pieces of paper, because that's where it tends to want to lift. So that's the area that you want to make sure that you get plenty of glue on there so it doesn't start to peel up. Now you could always at the end, and I might do this, is go ahead and do a layer of a Mod Podge or an acrylic medium or something, you know, varnish, something to seal the whole thing afterwards. So I probably will do something like that. But anyway, time will tell what's going to happen there. Okay. Let me put some of these. Now, the trains are going to be stuff that I want to show at the top. So I want to put these on more at the end, not as my base layer. I want these types of pages more for my base layer. So I'm just going to start tearing.
And I just wanted to go over some of the supplies that I've used so far, and then I want to add a couple more embellishments. So I of course did some background collage, and for that I just used a mix of papers, and I used the Joanne glue stick extra strength, and this is a permanent bond. And of course, I don't know if I'm going to get that on to show up on. I can't really get it to get the words. Anyway, I used just a extra fine Sharpie for most of my neuro lines, and then for some of the coloring, I used ink tints. I used Shiraz for some of my brain color, and then bark to do some of the low lights and shadows around. And I used a water brush pen to activate that. And then I also used this Faber-Castell Pitt artist pen, which is an India ink based. And that's white, to do some highlights within there. And then for around the edges, I used this Marby Heritage, and it was a little bit rustier color than I was expecting. So I went in with a little bit of Vintage Photo just to darken that up a little bit. It was a little darker. Maybe what I was wanting was more of a walnut. And then for my stamping, I did a few stamps. This is Tim Holtz Journey is the title of this collection. So, and in here it actually has a train ticket, which I thought was cool, some arrows, and then I just used this corner element around the edges. And then I also used a little bit of this one, and this one is steampunk. I used the art brushes, this little photo element, and I think that was all I used on this one. And then I'm going to be adding some little sprockets. So it's train of thought, and you just think of the gears in my mind working over. This is my mind, it's very busy. And so I have this cut embossed stencil, thin die cuts. So I already had some cut out of some craft paper. So I stained those a little bit with, this is Adirondack Color Wash. It's also a Tim Holtz product, Espresso. And I'm going to do a little bit of some splatter with this as well. And then I use that to just grunge up these sprockets so that, you know, they didn't look so bright. And I'm going to be placing those, and I think I used a little bit of the Distress ink to grunge these up as well. And I think I'm going to add some splatters with this, and then also with this acrylic ink, which is a Speedball, super pigmented acrylic ink. So those are the few final touches I think I'm going to add. Here I'm just going to place these, and then I might still add a few more of my thought elements. What thoughts popped into my head when I was working on this, I might add down the road a little bit too. I added art because I am always thinking about what I'm teaching, my workshops. And then I added technology because I was having some technical difficulties during this class. My camera kept shutting off, so that's why I have the film there.
thank you everybody for joining me for another episode of Healing After Hours. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, or share if you find this content helpful. Thank you and happy creating. Bye.